and I've spent so much time trying to figure out every individual company's customers' needs based on their personas, and it really does boil down to three things. It's speed, simplicity, and certainty for me. That's the three things that are like non-negotiable for people.
Welcome to episode 1 of our 4-part Sales 401 series here on the Elite Business Advice podcast. My name is Chris Moore. I'm the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host of the podcast here. And today we've got my good friend, one of our advisors here, Stuart Mackay, joining us to talk through today's topic. So on this first episode, we're going to do this again in a 4-part series. Each one's going to kind of build on the next. And so here and today, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to kick it off with kind of the basic fundamentals of sales, right? Everything in a business rises and falls on sales. Everything is dependent upon it. If you're, listening to this here in the painting industry, which is kind of our target, you only make money when work gets produced. But sales is kind of the necessary evil to be able to produce work to make profit and make money, right? So that's why we say kind of everything rises and falls on your marketing and your sales in your business. It's often referred to as kind of the cog in the wheel, if you will, or the bottleneck in a business. Sometimes it is the production side of things, but more times than not, what we see is when people aren't hitting their financial goals, it's because they're not hitting their marketing and sales goals on the front end of it to be able to even produce the work to make the money. And so I think a lot of times it's really because they lack some of these fundamentals that we're going to talk about today. Maybe it's something simple as knowing who you're selling to, knowing what that customer journey looks like for what their experience is with your company, and maybe a little bit too on that repeatable sales process that you execute on time and time again. And so we just want to cover some of the fundamentals to kick off the series. We'll dive deeper into sales psychology and different selling methods and creating a process here in the upcoming weeks. But we want to make sure we hit on these fundamentals and have really solid fundamentals in your company for sales before we start getting into some of the more advanced stuff. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice podcast. Stuart, thanks for joining me here, man.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, Chris.
Me too. It's been really fun having you on board with us here the last couple of years, and realized how much I have not taken advantage of all of your wisdom to share here on the podcast like I should. So I hope everybody loves hearing your voice, because I think they're going to hear a lot more of it coming even after this series. But why don't you just share a little bit about kind of your journey in this painting industry, all the way back from when you were a wee little lad starting in Scotland? I had to.
Way off the hop. Started right out of high school. It's all I've ever known. So traveled 3 continents, starting off in the UK, then on to Australia, then North America, slowly progressing from apprentice year 1 through 4, went on to some occupational health and safety, but still within the paint industry in Australia, some supervisor work, then went into estimating when I went to North America. So after 10 years of kind of learning all the different aspects of the trade, decided to start my own company. Done that, grew that business, sold majority stake to our project manager. Recently purchased another amazing company in a really nice market. So spend about 20% of my time managing those. And then the other 80%, 85% of my time here with Elite Business Advisors, consulting and advising, helping. I think we now have 16. I have 16 clients. Who 20 million in sales just from those 16 clients, in addition to my own. So I have a really good insight into sales. And then kind of over the years, really, that's what I developed my passion in, was sales and customer journey. The two things come hand in hand, which is nice. Kind of like your cog in the wheel, which we'll get into. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. You just recently put together too an amazing sales training, an 8-week sales training, and did it with a couple of our clients, and the feedback's been fantastic. The results have been incredible. I love what you shared with our team. I think it was Monday on our team meeting call or in Slack yesterday, just talking about like the growth in a couple of those clients and their closing ratios and having a better understanding and crushing those sales goals. And we're excited to start rolling that out more and more, because clearly we're seeing the proof in the pudding with it. So you crushed that, which is what prompted this whole series with you.
You can tell that like that's still really fresh, because I can't help but smile at the outcomes. So that's what I love about not only like the sales component, is the whole Elite Business Advisors, the coaching component. Like I genuinely love being at work and
Yep.
seeing impact. I can impact 16 people, but how many people can they go impact through this stuff?
It's the most fulfilling thing in the world.
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
sales thing as well, it's like not just selling, it's how that then impacts everything else that comes along after it. So,
Yeah.
and that customer experience. So, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
exciting. Super stoked. Just good to see people are making the most of their estimates and
Yep.
not fall by the wayside. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, good. So let's jump in. We talked about cog of the wheel, bottleneck of the business, whatever you want to title it, right? But why do many people kind of call, sales the cog in the wheel and not really the whole wheel, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think too many people don't talk about it being the cog in the wheel. I think too many people talk about it being the whole wheel, and it's so far from it. Like when I do like all of my deep, over exaggerated analysis that you love,
Yeah.
people look at the sales. I'll ask people, "What's your customer journey?" They'll give me 5 or 6 steps up to the point of the sale, and then they'll give me the final part, which is the whole production process
Yep.
in 1 step. And it's not actually, if you think about it, an average estimate in the paint industry or in a service-based industry is going to be about 2 hours from initial contact, qualifying, drive time, estimate on site, and then a follow-up after the project if you don't sell it. And then on average, you're looking at 80 hours for a project plus management, all that stuff. So that's why it's only a cog in the wheel, because that first 2 hours are critical for the success of everything that comes after that. That next 80 odd hours can be so incredibly painful if those first 2 hours don't go well and we don't set standards and we don't explain the process and have a process to explain,
Yeah.
sure we'll come into. So that's
Yep.
why it's only a cog in the wheel.
I love it. So as we talk about fundamentals, let's talk a little bit too about kind of understanding, the importance of who you're talking to, who you're selling to, right? I think that's like one of the key fundamental in any sales. Honestly, any conversation you have, sales or not, truthfully. But like, how can we help understand better who we're talking to or who we're selling to in this case, and how you kind of use that in sales here in the painting industry throughout your career?
Yeah, good question. So that's where it's going to sound on the contrary to what I just said. We have a process that is disciplined, but there's guardrails on that process. Within that process, there's certain things that we're going to adapt to, and personality is one of them. It doesn't mean we need to change who we are. It's about understanding who we're selling to, what their needs are, and how to approach that person. So, the way I like to explain it is we have direct personalities and report orientated personalities. So direct is all about efficiency and clarity. They want to get to the price. They want to know you're going to get it done. And it's the simplest way. Busy professional. Someone like you probably is going to be about direct more. So,
Yeah,
than the
just a
report,
little bit.
because you're busy, right? So,
Yeah.
And then report oriented is about connection and trust. So they're going to go much more based on what their gut feeling was rather than the price and a really simplified process. So that's going to be the
Good.
two. We start to evaluate that, or I train to start evaluating that right at the first phone call. So
Yep.
I like people to have in their system a note section, wherever they're documenting things in their CRM, where they have personality traits. And that's where we're starting to really identify, does this person want to get to the meat and potatoes as quickly as possible? Or are they interested in making a friend? Maybe have they been retired for 15 years alone, that kind of thing. So we really want to be evaluating that up front. And then we want to use that. Well, we actually evaluate it more so in that first 5 minute interaction in their home. As we start to try and build rapport, are they pushing back? And if they are pushing back, it's important to realize that's why it's important to do it twice, because it's important to realize at that time they might have been a bad morning, they might have their guard up because they're unsure, but they actually might be a report orientated person in the long run. So it's important to start identifying that quickly and continuously analyze it, because it's really important when you get towards the middle to the end of the estimate, and throughout the process. So that's kind of how we use it. It'll also then determine how we report to that person. Are we going to give them a step-by-step of everything that's happened that day? Or are we going to just say, here's what was completed, here's where we're at, we're on track, good to go.
Yep.
because we don't want to overwhelm them, and we want them to get just the right amount of information for them.
Cool. No, I love that, man. I think that's really good. And I think it's crucial to have a good understanding of that on how to. I love what you said, right? Like kind of a semi-structured approach. You have your process, but then you
Mhm.
also, have a way to tailor that to each individual person, right? And understanding personality temperaments, whether you are looking at the disc profiles or, as you said, report oriented, different things like that. Just having a basic understanding that people are all different, right? And that's a huge thing. And so I think that's honestly a really key thing to sales. And I know we'll dive deeper into that in the psychology here coming up on a future episode. I think that's next week's. But I think just having a good understanding on how do you tailor that conversation, how do you tailor that presentation, how do you tailor the way you write the bid to that person, right? So it's more detail oriented is going to want to see things a lot more spelled out and very crystal clear versus somebody maybe like myself that's a little bit more just like, hey, what are you doing, how much does it cost, and when can you do it, right? And so I think understanding again conversations, bids, presentations, right? Like I used to, before I understood personalities, I just thought I was awesome and everybody was like me. But I used to think people were jerks, right? And I used to think like, wow, that guy really doesn't want to talk about anything. And then I realized like, no, he just cares about the outcome. He doesn't care about much in the foreground. Like, what are you doing? How much does it cost? When can you be here? Right. Like that's how I need to tailor this conversation to him. He's not a jerk. He just doesn't have a lot of fluff and a lot of conversation. Right. So I think that's a really good point to kind of keep in mind.
I used to think that, oh, well, they're not like me, they don't like me, that kind of thing. And actually, maybe it is that they don't like me, but they're not there to like me. And even if they want to build rapport and have that good gut instinct, it doesn't mean that they want to be your best friend. And
Yeah.
separating that can be hard because you realize that you need to, as a business owner or as an estimator, separate yourself from the business.
Yep.
Um, so
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. Yeah. They don't have to be your friend. You're just their painter, like to some
Yeah.
degree. I mean, you're more than a painter, but like at the end of the day, like you're kind of just a painter for them. Right.
Yeah. Just a painter
So,
guy.
yep. Just a painter guy.
It's okay.
Chase calls everybody that works like in construction. Oh, he's a worker guy. Like, yeah, sure, Chase. That's what you have to look forward to in a couple of years. So, we talk a lot to, kind of talking fundamentals here about like the customer journey. Both, I look at customer journey more in the experience they get with you, right? From the moment they reach out through, I even say completion of the job. Obviously, we're talking sales, so we can kind of stop it at the moment the sale's made. But what are a few ways that contractors can like really increase this experience, and where do you see people lacking at as we talk about the customer journey and the customer experience here?
Yeah. So I don't think we can completely stop it at sales because, again, that cog in the wheel, like my bigger picture vision for any sale is the long term customer acquisition cost. So, how we can get that down over time. And that's by creating Raven fans,
Yes.
net promoters, however you want to explain it. And that comes from that continuous. And I guess I would look at it as sales, like it's customer service, whatever it may be. But um, for us, the big thing for us is we have so much that goes on in a customer journey. We have it all laid out. I like to train this as well, and who's responsible for each step. So we'll have stages, and then we'll have steps, and then we'll have who's responsible for it, and everything should flow really nice and neatly. Um, but then what we want to do is we want to take sort of 7 to 10 of those key key moments in that whole customer journey and be able to simplify that so we can explain it really easily to our client and to our painters or whoever's involved, whoever the team are that are involved to execute that project. So I like to really focus on, first of all, let's get it down to those 7 steps. So for me, it would be discovery. Then it would be, which would be your phone call, qualifying, booking the estimate. Then it'd be the professional consultation on site. Then it would be sending a solution-based quote, whether it be on site or afterwards. You go into pre-project planning after that. Then you go into what I call the 3 Ps: protect, prepare, and paint. Where people normally get caught up in the weeds in that section because
Yep.
they're technicians and they love it. And then we go into the quality control portion, which is through your daily reporting, apps like apps, company cam, not
Yep.
limited to
Busy, all the, yep.
busy. and then your client success meeting at the very end of a project, step 7. So that's how I like to really say, this is how you're going to go from being a lead, someone that was interested in painting, to being a really happy customer that's on a 5-year warranty that's going to refer us to all your friends and family. And then the thing that's really important about having that customer journey and having a repeatable customer journey and experience is that you can, what I like to talk about is prove your process. You can then prove your process. So by the time you're at the sales component of it, where it's the detailed quote delivery, stage 3, let's just say, you can say, well, you got off the phone with X and we said we would send you an email, and we did that. And then we said we'd turn up here at 2 p.m. today, and we've done that. And then we said this was going to happen. This is what the estimate was going to look like, but broken down into 15-minute segments. And we've done that. And now we're at stage 3. So congratulations, you're already halfway through the 7-step journey, and 4 steps left to go, and you'll be a happy customer and you'll have your house painted, which, like we spoke about, most people ultimately want that outcome. But the big thing that's always got to be remembered throughout this whole customer journey and experience is that people are interested in the outcome and how they're going to feel. Like, they'll remember how they're going to feel, more so than they'll remember what colour of paint you used. They'll probably not remember your name. That's why the painter guy fits, no matter whether you're the owner, estimator, or the painter guy. But they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's what will go a long way. So if you look at a lot of good companies' reviews, it'll often be about how they communicated and so on and so forth. And that's really what makes the difference. So that's why the customer journey is important. It's also important so that when things often come off the tracks a little bit, identify exactly where that happened. And then sometimes when you get those one in a few customers who say this happened and that happened, and you have a really defined customer experience journey that you follow meticulously, you then aren't questioning so much, because you more often than not follow the exact same process, which just creates a level of accountability and creates clarity. Everyone's looking for clarity, and people are looking to be directed with control. And
I love it. I think one big thing too, and I know we're going to dive like super deep into the process and building that repeatable system on episode 3 here of the series. But I love it because people want to be led. Like, I think as a customer, people ask the question all the time about like, oh, like I feel like it's weird asking for a deposit. And I'm like, it's only weird if you make it weird. Right. And I know certain states have different laws with that. And like California, you can only ask for a 10% deposit at most, and different things. Like, I understand there's like that side of it you have to follow based on regulations, but it's not weird unless you make it weird. If you're like, well, if you book with us, like we'll ask you for a 25% deposit. And like, if you're okay with that, that's weird. Right. Mm-hmm. But if you just say like, hey, the next step in the process is, if you want to get on the schedule, we'll take a 25% deposit to go ahead and hold your spot in the schedule. We'll get it on there and we'll start planning out your project with you. Just normal, repeatable. This is what we do next, right? And homeowners typically aren't going to think twice about it. There might be some people that have gotten burned in the past that might be like, oh, hold on. Like, I understand there's that reality, but people want to be led. They want to be led in what comes next. They don't know any different. They typically aren't running your estimate for you because they don't know what to expect, right? So having that repeatable process makes it easy to let them know what to expect, let them know what next steps are, and then also just lead them through that journey. And you kind of can lead them where you want them to go, right? And it's not manipulation. We'll talk deeper in sales psychology next week, but it's called like assuming the close, not being, manipulative. It's just you're leading them down the path of giving them that result, that outcome, and that feeling. I love that you said that, of what they're trying to achieve here with their project. So what, a couple last questions here as we wrap up this first episode. Number 1, what are 3 core needs that every customer truly has? Because I think this is a big fundamental thing. You could kind of say this maybe is psychology or anything else, but it's really a fundamental thing in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And I focus a lot on the needs, features, and benefits. And I spent so much time trying to figure out every individual company's customers' needs based on their personas. And it really does boil down to 3 things that we've kind of maybe touched on throughout this whole conversation. It's speed, simplicity, and certainty. for me. That's the three things that are like non-negotiable for people. It doesn't mean that we need to be the quickest painters in the world. Speed can mean that normally people want their job done relatively quickly. It can also mean that when we're there, we're efficient. It means that if we say we're going to take 6 days, we might finish in 5. It means that we don't take 1 hour lunch breaks and we disappear for half the day. But ultimately, speed's a big one. And then simplicity, which we spoke about. People sometimes will want us to zoom in on using a certain sand machine and a certain kind of paint with a certain sheen. But most of the time, they just want to know how they're getting to point A to B as quickly as possible.
Yep.
That's the simplicity portion. The certainty is what we've already spoke about proving your process. So not only have they done a bunch of research before you got there, they've checked your reviews and things. They already have an idea of who you are and who your company is. You've proven your process up to step 3 so far. You followed the kind of customer journey in home, which is the 60-minute breakdown into 4 50-minute slots. You can then show them reviews and then photos to show them social proof. It's a visual business, which is amazing. That creates certainty that you're going to do what you say you're going to do and you're going to stand behind your work. And if something does go wrong, which it very well might, you're going to be there. So you know that they're going to get it done quickly. It's going to be simple and it's going to be certain.
I love it. I love that. What happens when a contractor skips some of these fundamentals we're talking about? What have you seen with painting contractors, throughout the industry? That's one thing I would share. I love that we get to benchmark against hundreds of painting contractors, both clients, non-clients, friends in the industry, people we talk to at different events and stuff. What do you see happen when they skip or they fumble on some of these fundamental things? What's that outcome look like for them?
Messy.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Maybe not a kitchen fire. Refer back to a couple episodes I talked about that.
I like what you've done there. You're quite good at that hyperlinking to it.
Oh, I'll promote my own show all day, man.
I think you've done this before.
Yeah.
So no, it can be messy and it's then hard if you skip those fundamentals. One of the big things I see is people skip is they make it all about them, their process, their company, very little about what that person's hoping to achieve. And then through all that, they're going into this absolutely blind focused and hyper focused. Like that's the sad thing. They're hyper focused on certain things, but it's the energy in the wrong place. And then people don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. And maybe they've chose you because you're had a really good process, a really good reputation. But they personally don't feel that. And that's what we've been speaking about is how they feel. And then on top of all that, normally you don't have a process to identify these things as well. Then we're looking at, okay, where do they go? Where did the train fall off the tracks? Like where does that pinpoint? How do we fix that? And we really don't know what problem we're trying to fix for the client. We just know they're unhappy. And we're stumbling around in the dark, trying to figure out what are we trying to fix for this person. So, and if you do get, sorry,
no, go ahead.
If you do get in that situation, just come straight out and ask them.
Yeah,
what can I do to make this right?
Yeah, no, I think it's great, man. And I think a couple kind of quotes or things that come to mind as you were talking about this. Number one, people will never forget how you made them feel. Right. Number two, people want to do business with who they know, like, and trust. So if you build an opportunity to get to know them, let them get to know you, they can build trust and confidence in you. They like you as a person, right? And it's not that you got to be best friends with everybody, but it's just like, are you building confidence that you are the best contractor to take care of their needs and give them those feelings and emotions they're after, right? And if you can do that, you're going to succeed. And I see a lot of people try to make it too much about like why I'm the best, I think, to your point. And even if you're not blatantly coming out saying that, although I'm sure some people do, truthfully, I know personalities in this industry sometimes. I would not be surprised if somebody's blatantly said that. Hopefully nobody listened to this, but if you have, use this as a time to grow. But it's like you spend all of your energy making it about like why we're the best company out there and why you should pick us. And I think there's a lot of ways you can build that into your process, into your conversations, into that customer experience through sales aids, videos that go out during, the stages of the process that we'll talk more about in a couple episodes. you can do a lot of things that show why you're the best without having to literally say the words, here's why you should choose us because we're the best, right? Put your energy into building that relationship with the customer, getting to know and understand them, not in trying to communicate why you're the best company out there. So, look, I have one more question, but go ahead, elaborate.
One last thing on that. Like, I don't even think it's about being the best. It's about you making them feel the best. Like, we're not the best company. We might not be the best. I've never owned the best company in the area, but hopefully we make people feel the best.
Yep.
Right. Secure. Yep. Mrs. Jones having someone invited into her home. There's no one's been in there in 3 years since COVID. Yeah. We're the first people through that door. 6'5", big burly guy with a beard, whatever. Or guy from St. Louis. I really.
You're much taller than you appear on Zoom, by the way.
Making people feel good.
Yeah. No, I think that's good, man. I'm a big fan of Donald Miller. He's a marketing guy out of Nashville, and he talks about like building a story brand, right? And it's like he talks a lot about the hero's journey. And like the goal isn't to be the hero in the story. It's to kind of put your arm alongside them and let them be the hero, but make them feel like they're the hero, right? Like, hey, we might have applied the paint here, but you're the one that picked out the color and did all this stuff. Like, this was your project and you crushed it. Like, we just showed up to do what you wanted us to, right? Like, it's those types of mentality. Again, you may not say those words, or you might, but that's how you want people to feel. They're the hero in their own story, not you. Yep. So, last question for you as we wrap up this episode. How do these fundamentals connect sales into the crews and the operations and the production side of things? Why is this fundamental stuff that we just talked about? How can that help set your crews up for success on the other half of the coin, if you will, of the experience?
Yeah, because ultimately, if they are focused on speed, simplicity, and certainty throughout the process, then we're going to execute and deliver on the promise that the estimators made. And that's what creates the repeat customers, by executing the promise, not just, delivering it verbally.
Yeah.
So by having those three things that we're focused on, as well as sprinkling in little things like the last time the painter got dust in between my floorboards, so there's a way to overcome, highlighting that at the top of the work order, whatever it may be. But again, to simplify it for the crews that are coming after, like if we have to constantly be adapting to every single customer, it can get really complicated and complex. And if we've got, large developing crews, again, can get complex. And I loved your Instagram reel earlier about the consistency of crews, because again, that then creates certainty of the outcome and it creates simplicity for the internal operations. So that's really hyper focused on those three things, and along with without sacrificing craftsmanship, you will succeed.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Well, this has been a great first episode. I am also encouraged it didn't turn into 75 minutes long, which is why we broke this up into 4 parts so we could give each part its due diligence here. I appreciate everything that you've had to share. I mean, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here on this journey with us. You've been a huge blessing, a huge asset to all of the clients you're working with, but honestly, even all of our clients in a lot of different ways too. And so I'm glad to finally get you on here again and tap into the knowledge, because I don't think you've been on here since you were maybe a client of ours, or maybe somewhere in that journey, which is really a shame on my part. So more to come there. Stay tuned for next week's episode. We're going to dive deeper into the psychology of sales, want versus need selling, and kind of starting to build your process around 3 key pillars of sales in your business. So don't miss it. Each episode is going to build on the next one. Come back here next week, plug into it. We'll see you then. I hope you enjoyed that episode and were able to take away a few nuggets to implement into your business. If you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. We at Elite Business Advisors are a huge supporter of the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association. If you're not familiar with the PCA and all of the benefits of membership, I highly recommend you check it out at www.painted.org. That's PAINTED.org. It looks like painted. And last but not least, if you're looking for an outsider's perspective, as you navigate growth, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. We work with painting contractors all over North America to help them treat their business like a business. Our entire team of advisors all have experience in owning and running a painting company, so you aren't just getting a team that is teaching off of theory, but tried and true application of principles and systems. Thanks so much for listening in today. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you back next week.